Welcome forward here with Consciously Creating Circumstances by George Winslow Plummer. We're entering into chapter 13 entitled How to Concentrate. In the first technique of forming mental pictures, we must emphasize the importance of concentration, a principle about which many people talk and write, but which few know how to put into actual practice. It is easy to form a mental picture. Everyone has done so and continues to do so to a greater or lesser extent. Daydreams are such pictures. Even the most unimaginative person forms pictures in his mind of the desires or longings closest to his heart. Ideas must express themselves. And in order to become full-fledged ideas, they must picturize themselves in one's consciousness. If you propose to build a house, you may be lazy about details, but you have some idea about how you expect it to look, and you try to convey your general mental picture to the architect, leaving the detailed drawing and specifications to him, if you are wise. In forming thought forms, you are commending your ideas to the great architect of the universe. The more you retain your pictured idea in your mind, seldom letting it get out of your consciousness, even though you may engage on other matters, the stronger the picture becomes. It grows by its own nature, for growth is a cosmic law that applies to things in the mental plane as well as on the physical. We keep our mental pictures, or thought form, in continuous, healthy growth by the process and faculty of concentration. An Eastern philosopher, Patanjali, defined concentration as the hindering of the modification of the thinking principle. In plainer words, it means the prevention of thoughts that interfere with any important matter on which you have set your minds. It means devoting one's unhindered mental energies to the particular matter that stands out in importance above all other things in our life at any one time. Concentration means being of, quote, one mind, end of quote, for the period in which you are holding your thought form for impression upon the universal mind. There may be no confusion. You cannot develop your thought form and impress it upon the universal, and at the same time allow side thoughts to flit across your mental vision. Development of concentration is a natural to some, difficult for others, but any normal person can develop it by simple perseverance. If, at the start, your mind wanders, bring it back to focus again and again until the picture remains clear and obscured. Again, if your mind persists in wandering, in spite of all your effort, it shows that what you think you desire does not take the precedence it should, and that is not, for the moment, the all-absorbing interest in your life. To be successful, it must be the all-absorbing interest, to the exclusion of all else at that time. This does not mean that you must think of nothing else at any time. Go about your ordinary affairs, but with the knowledge that the thought form upon which you are working is very close beneath your surface consciousness and can be brought up to focus at any moment. Have an underlying consciousness of your supreme desires, and as many times as possible each day brings it to focus and impresses it again and again upon the universal mind. In concentrating upon your thought form, hold it steady, clear and fixed. But there is another way in which you may help meditate upon it. Meditation is somewhat like concentration, but not the same. In concentration, the thought or picture is held fixed. In meditation, the general idea is held. But one allows the mind to revolve the idea in every direction, developing its possibilities and then adding such developments to the fixed idea. Meditate first to build up a fine thought form. Then contemplate calmly and expectantly its working out. Now notice carefully that it is not concentration or meditation that you consciously create circumstances. It is only by impressing your thought forms on the subjective and visualizing them working out that you bring them about. Concentration and meditation are needed to help you to do this stamping. Your will holds the thought constant to its purpose, but the thought alone creates. Probably you have seen a steel die or copper plate from which stationery is engraved. The surface of the metal is hollowed out in the form of a monogram to be printed. As a die alone is practically worthless, yet when the ink is put into it and transferred under pressure to the paper, the finished product is useful. Conceive of your thought form as the die. When the proper material come to hand, the die or the thought form impress your life with events as determined by its own form. The common expression, "the die is cast," takes on a greater significance in this connection. Sometimes concentration is caught by having the student fix his attention outwardly on some physical object, like a glass of water or a point within a circle. While this may be of value, resort to mechanical means is unnecessary, and the resulting phenomena are not in the long run as constructive as directing or direct training of the mind, by the mind, in the mind. The sort of concentrative ability you need must be the vigorous, active kind that will operate anywhere and under any circumstances without external stimulus. In seeking this, first relax. Close the eyes. Take a comfortable posture. In other words, remove external distractions. Allow your mind to calm down. Then, develop the picture of your desire. Fill in as many details as you can without specifying how they came or how they shall come about. Gradually, like a photograph film developing, the picture will take on more and more meaning until it suddenly jumps into completion. Then fix it. Hold on to it for a few minutes. Then banish it and forget it. And relax. Later on, recall the picture to your mind. Repeat this process often. There is no such thing as too much concentration unless you do so of it at any time or any one time that you can become overtired. Remember that the universal mind is a constructive. Yet because universal mind is impersonal, it has no choice but to follow the plan laid down in charge, mission or burden that is given it by you. Therefore, it will work for you, and on returning your plan or thought form completed and in objective manifestation, it will involve you just as you wanted to be involved. If, therefore, your thought form has in it any element of personal grievance or harm for another, it will come back to you, and you will stand and still be involved, which is just what you don't want. So make sure that your plans are right and worthy, for For it to be a week, month, year, or century, the bread cast on the waters will return. Sometimes the question is asked, can I function more than one thought form at a time? The answer is that only one thought form can be impressed upon the universal mind at one stamping. But having the deep concentration impressed the universal mind with a fundamental thought form, there is nothing to prevent you from making other impressions or impress upon the universal mind for other purposes. The real test is whether you can focus your objective mind on more than one purpose without weakening the varied purpose you have in mind. Sometimes a person may have several desires which, then properly put into definite shape, indicate that one single, well-expressed thought form will furnish the basic essentials to cover all those desires. If it is desired to develop two thought forms and to impress them upon the universal mind, the individual must make sure that his mind is entirely clear of the one while he devotes to the other. Otherwise, confusion in the craft will result. It is better to set one well-defined thought form into activity and wait until it is firmly started on the way to externalization, and then later impress the second thought form as a distinct entity by itself. Take the first step slowly. Ponder your objective carefully. Then work hard on one basic thought form before you clutter up your mental workshop with a lot of half-built, weak structures. Thus ends Chapter 13. Next chapter is entitled Fear and Faith.